All right, everybody. Welcome to a little bit of an interview, a precursor to a series that we're starting up on this channel here called Reuel's Room. Uh, just want to introduce you all to the main musician, the guy behind
Uh,
the whole concept, the idea, everything, Reuel Williams. So, to start it
good.
off, of course, we just want you to say a little bit about yourself, just talk about yourself
Well,
briefly.
yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. And well, my name is Reuel Williams. I'm a 19-year-old Trinidadian, I should say, musician, multi-instrumentalist, and producer, a composer as well too. And I'm really into jazz fusion music and blending my foundation in jazz music with different genres that I love listening to. So like kaiso music, calypso, soca, um, to a degree, pop, neo soul, hip hop, that kind of stuff. And I just hope to be able to touch people through my music and inspire others to pursue music.
Nice, 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 nice. So, you know, as I say, reach out to people and touch people with your music. That's something
Yeah.
that I guess more or less every musician strives to do. But
Yes. At least I'd hope.
yeah, yeah, we like to hope so.
We like
Um,
to think so.
so like I just want to know like what first got you interested in music? What got you into music in the first place?
Okay, so that's a great question. I'll tell you, take it on this long story. I try to make it a little short. So my dad is a pastor, and I grew up in church. My dad is a guitarist and he's a vocalist as well too. So being in church every Sunday, I saw him play and I saw other musicians play, and I saw that the passion that they had when they played music and how I was able to touch other people, and I was really inspired by that. But I wasn't a musician back then. I was just kind of interested and inspired by what they were doing. And when I was around 8, my dad began teaching me one or two chords on the guitar, a little scale here and there, and I started to get into music. But when I turned around 11, and also when I entered secondary school, was when I realized that I could take this music thing a little bit more than just something I do here and there now. So I began to teach myself to play the keyboard on YouTube, watching some videos and learning some fundamentals as well. And I was introduced to the steel pan by the steel pan ensemble at my former secondary school, Queen's Royal College, and I was inspired by older students there, such as Charlton and Falls. I don't know if you know who he is,
Of course, of
and Harry
course.
Joseph, the man himself. And they got me into steel pan, and they taught me how to play the steel pan, and I really began to foster my deep love and appreciation for the art form. But when I turned around 16, there was this one video, and I always tell this story. This one video that I saw of this band called Snarky Puppy, a jazz fusion band, and they played this song called Lingus, and it was a solo. There was a solo by one of my musical idols, Corey Henry, who's a genius little keyboardist, and I was blown out of my mind, yo. And I was like, whoa, this is not just a hobby for me. This is something that I love that I could pursue professionally. And from that moment, I began to practice more, a lot more, and try to do some more gigs and really get into music and started making it into a career where I can generate funds from it and compose my own stuff to, again, touch people and inspire other people to do the same, just like how Snacky Puppy inspired me.
Nice, nice. Well, a very well-rounded response. I appreciate that. A really good response there. So
Thanks, man.
you'd more or less say your dad serves as an influence.
Of course.
Members of the congregation served as an influence, and as
Of
well as
course.
Snarky Puppy, you said?
Yes, Snacky Puppy.
Okay,
The,
cool,
mu-
cool.
the, music, the musicians listening to this mode would know exactly what I'm talking
All right,
about.
right, for sure, for sure. Um, with that being said, since you are a multi instrumentalist, I just want to know like
Yes.
how for the average person, for the casual music enthusiast, for
Yes.
people who not too keen with all the technical terms and all that good stuff, like what would you describe the kind of music that you do or create?
So, as I said earlier on, my preferred genre of music is jazz fusion. So, as I began to pursue music a bit more than just in a hobby, I realized that I had a profound love for jazz and variations of jazz. And I began to see different bands take other genres and put it on a foundation of jazz, and I was inspired to do the same thing. So I like to take different elements from different styles of music. So, for example, without sounding too complicated, I might take different chords that are used commonly in R&B or neo soul songs, but I'll put it in a jazz structure where I would have, let's say, um, a jazz swing going on, or I don't want to sound too complicated, or like
Mm-hmm.
different jazz harmonic patterns and that kind of stuff, and maybe jazz improv jazz licks and that kind of stuff over different elements that I borrow from different styles of music. So if I were to look at my single that I released earlier this year, Jungle, it's a good example of the music that I try to make, which is like, for example, the rhythm in the middle section of that song, if you've listened to it before, is an African clave or rhythm, a
Mm-hmm.
foundational rhythm, and I took that from a different genre of music, but I put it in the foundation of jazz. I hope I was able to clarify a little bit of the kind of
Yeah,
music that
nah,
I
that
produce
was
or that I
pretty
do.
clear. That was pretty clear. I just wanted to, give a rundown to those who might not know or, who might not have a full idea of what kind of music you actually do. You know,
Yeah,
um, Now that we know what kind of music you do, I just like to know, like, how do you come about producing this music? Like, what's the creative process for you like?
that's an excellent and also very difficult question because it depends on what I'm creating, what style of music, or what I'm borrowing from. But usually, it's not what people think it is. Where like people assume that because you're a musician, sometimes inspiration comes like and you snap over a finger and then you instantly know exactly what you want something to sound like. And while
Mm-hmm.
it does work like that sometimes, the majority of the time, at least to me, it's a process of starting off or coming up with a very small idea, putting that down, and then gradually building upon that over a period of, let's say, a couple of weeks to even some months, and then refining that idea. So again, with Jungle, it started off with me in a music store, talking with some of my friends, and I was just improvising a little bit on guitar as much as I could. And I played one or two chords, and I was like, "Hey, I like this." Recorded it, saved it, and then just went on my day. And then gradually over the next few weeks, I began to add different stuff and realized, okay, this is going in a different direction from what I thought it was going to be originally.
Right,
So
right.
I like to think of my compositions as like the human evolution, human
Okay.
evolution in a
Interesting,
in a way
interesting.
where we start off as one thing, and slowly as different things begin to change and I begin to like certain things more, it evolves into something more complex and totally different. Sometimes similar, but a lot of the times totally different from what I thought it was going to be eventually.
Okay. So, as you adapt to what's around you and how, like, the more you progress in life on a
Yes.
whole, is the more your music progresses along with you. So, your creative process
Yes.
is more or less an extension of your everyday life.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's pretty. Now that's eye opening because, I mean, myself originally, I'd have thought, well, he sit down for probably a week for the most, and put everything together.
And
I know the whole music process does take a little while,
uh-huh.
but I would have never assumed, you know, like months on end
Yeah.
it would go on
And
for.
sometimes too, like you can find yourself, if you try to create pieces of music too quickly, it's very like sometimes you listen to a song over and over and over, literally hundreds of times, and because of that you almost become deaf to certain things. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
always good, as any kind of creator, to sometimes distance yourself a little bit from your work, take a couple of days, and just stay away from it, and then come back with a whole new perspective. So I try my best to do that from time to time to let my music grow organically, as opposed to trying to, let's say, force it to be done within this time frame. But of course, there are instances. So, for example, I released an EP with a good friend of mine, Omar. It was a collaboration, a kind of alternative electronic pump kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that happened very quickly. I went over by him when the quarantine just began. We spent about 3 days and we just pumped out music. But there were still times where we had to, like, you know what, bro, let's take a little hour or two break and just like
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
chill and then go back at it. And we didn't finish it in those 3 days because some weeks had passed where we would have been trashing, bouncing off different ideas off of each other. So sometimes it's quicker, but a lot of the times a lot of time is really just letting it grow organically.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool, cool. That's really insightful. For anybody like looking at music seriously, that's a good thing for them to consider. Like it's not a overnight thing all the time.
Yes.
You know, like most of the time it's actually not an overnight thing, but that would actually give a lot of young musicians and upcoming musicians, an insight to, well, this thing does require patience. It requires a certain dedication to it.
Of course, without a shadow of a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, well, like as with anything that you're passionate about. Right,
Yes.
right. Cool. Great. This is going really well. So I think I might know the answer to this,
Here you go
but
see.
who are you most likely to collaborate with? Just think on a international scale. Not it doesn't have to be anybody local. It could be somebody local, but just in general, who do you not only see yourself collaborating with, but who would be like a dream collaboration for you?
Definitely, without any doubt in this entire world, Jacob Collier. Or Collier.
All right, I was correct then.
A lot of people don't know who he is because he's not as mainstream as I would like him to be per se. But in my humble opinion, he is the most genius musician to have ever graced the planet in the history of music. And he's a multi
That
instrumentalist.
is a high piece of praise they give him there.
Yeah, it is. And I say it without any regret. I I really I admire his music because he a lot of his stuff that he puts out is almost completely done by him. So he plays all of the instruments, he produces it, he mixes it. I believe he masters his own music as well too, and it sounds so clean, it
No.
sounds so beautiful, and it's able to touch me and speak to me on an emotional level. Like wow, sometimes I listen to his songs and I'm just like I didn't know I could feel what I'm feeling right now, and I just would love to to collaborate with him and get into his brain and draw inspiration from him.
Nice. So like, I have to check this guy out.
Yeah.
I have to check this guy out for sure, cause you're getting a kind of euphoria vibes when you listen to him, and
Uh-huh.
that's a heights on its own.
Uh-huh. And he's so versatile
That's
too.
right.
Like
Yeah.
one moment he can make something that is like a beautiful a cappella cover of a song, and then the next moment he's just going ham and just an instrumental, and it's just like, yo, bro, like come on, save some talent for the rest of us.
Interesting. That's cool. That's cool. So like, would you say he is more or less a progressive influence or a continuing influence for you? Like, is a good bit of your style based on him, or
Definitely. So there are three musicians I like to cite when trying to summarize my musical taste. A lot of people don't know who these musicians are, so it's fine. But like Corey Henry, as I said before from the Snacky video, genius level keyboardist. Jacob Collier, genius level Monza instrumentalist and producer, and another guy named Tiger Hamasayan, who takes different songs from or different influences from his home music and puts it into like a very free, I wouldn't say free jazz, but kind of like progressive jazz format. And that's kind of what I want to do Trinbagonian music as well too. So I see myself taking different influences, different stuff from soca and calypso, and making it a bit my own and packaging it and just sending it out there, and hopefully it can reach a wide audience. So Jacob Collier, definitely
yeah,
Jacob Collier, but not him alone, but definitely has been a huge inspiration for me and my music.
yeah? I mean, I'd love to see a jazz and soca fusion kind of thing.
Uh,
And
so
to be honest, yeah, you're more or less seeing with these younger artists, you're seeing that. So you're seeing they kind of fusing the soca with something else, with something a little newer.
yes. So
Um,
I have
the yeah.
sorry to cut you,
Go
but I
ahead.
just, I just have to talk about some of my contemporaries too. Like Charlton Alfonso, he's the leader of a band that I'm in called Jaiso, which is jazz and kaiso,
Right.
which does exactly what I said. We take jazz, or we take kaiso music, calypso, soca music, and put it into like a jazz format. So we had a show earlier on this year, and we would perform classics like Dingo Labor. We had like a swing section that was just so much fun, and we have different jazz improves over it. And also a good friend of mine too, Isaac Jose, is
All right.
taking dancehall music and putting his own spin on it. And sometimes I hear some of his stuff and I'm like, bro, you're introducing these guys to jazz. And I'm like, yeah, but they don't even know. And it's be like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to disguise the blessing and put it through. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, like, I mean, to add some earlier points, like, the younger generation, like, I was like Nyla, you know, Jimmy October, Cass even, you know, like, a lot of their music has, like, a fusion vibe to it. It's not just the traditional blaster soca that you're accustomed to hearing on the radio every day, you know. It have that kind of, I'd go as far as saying like a more refined taste.
Yeah.
You know, so like the song Magic, you know, look at that.
I
Even though
love
that's
that
Calypso,
song.
yeah, but even though that's Calypso, that I would say, would I be correct in saying that has a jazz feel to it?
I wouldn't say it has a jazz feel. It's sort of what I guess I can understand why you say that, but it's not necessarily that. It's more like a. So I've worked with Jimmy October before, and his style of music is what he brands as new calypso. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term. So he kind of like if he's just allowing calypso to evolve in a more palatable way for the youth of today.
Nice.
So that's essentially what he's doing. So Kes does that as well from time to time, and Jimmy October is the leader of that, and it's amazing. And I would like to do something like that, but more jazz based.
Well, understandable. You know, that's great. That's great actually. But I don't want to make this interview too long. You know, nah, cause like I was not, you're now getting into the vibe or realizing that, you know, you're getting into the vibe, you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it myself. I think it's a masterclass you're giving here.
Come on, I have to become a master first before I get a masterclass.
Nah, it is. I mean, bashfulness and humbleness aside, you're spitting facts, you know, plain talk bad manners, you know. You're spitting facts, and you know you're putting it. You're putting a new wave and a new brand of music out there, you know, for the viewer. So I will always appreciate that, you know. So we more or less covered influences, origin story. I'd probably like to wrap this up by your last question. So like, what was your favorite performance venue out of all that you've had?
So that's a tough question. I've had some great performances over the years at different places. So I've performed at Jazz on the Greens once with Holistic Music School. I've performed in Kaiso Blues Cafe, where they used to be and where they aren't too many times to come. I've performed in Little Carib Theatre Town. I would have to say I think Movie Town Plaza is Movie
Say
Town.
that again?
There's like a
Movie Town Plaza.
They have these shows that, well, obviously they're canceled now because of thank you for it. And they used to have shows like every Saturday and Wednesday, I believe. And I had this one show with another contemporary of mine, Luke, who's actually studying at Berkeley and Harvard. And he was like, he's actually
Okay.
And he was like, bro.
Say that name again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
And he was like, bro, like the keyboardist thing. And then we had the show, and that show was just so much fun. And it feels kind of like a big stage, so it gives you that euphoria of being on a big stage, but it still feels sort of intimate to an extent. And I love performing there.
Yeah.
I've only performed there once though, but I'd love to perform there again. Other than that, I think Little Carib Theatre was a very nice place for me to perform. It's more homey and indoorsy, for lack of a better adjective. And after that, I probably have to say Kaiso Blues, just because of the amount of times that I performed there and how comfortable I've got there.
Wow, nice. And I can see where you get that vibe from Movie Town Plaza from, you know. There's a nice open space. the stage isn't too, it's on the smaller side, but it isn't too restrictive. It still
Exactly.
has, it's still open more or less on every
Exactly.
side, and everybody's attention is fixated on you. I could see where you get that kind of euphoric feeling
Yes.
from. I could understand 100%. Um, but yeah, I think that
Yeah,
should be
man.
good enough.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was. I enjoyed it. So yeah, I just want to wrap up. Anything else you want to add in? Any last words or anything like that?
I hope you all will enjoy the content that we'll be pushing for out for you all just now. This room. I think you all will enjoy it. It'll definitely be a fun and enlightening process for me as a learning musician as well. And yeah, I just hope you guys will really enjoy the content.
All right, cool. Yeah, you heard it from him himself. Again, if you reached this far, thanks. We appreciate it
I
a
do.
lot.
I love you.
Yeah. Make sure to leave a like on the video. Share this, get the word out there. We'll have links to Reuel's music in the description. The new EP as well as his single Jungle, we'll have that in the description as well. So you could go ahead and check that out, share that as well. And if you reach this far again, so make sure to subscribe. And thanks. Really thanks for giving us a ear. So you have a blessed
Yes,
night,
you
bro.
too,
All
bro.
right? Yeah, man. Safe.